Hi everyone, it's BTBrummie here. I'm doing something a little different today. Um, as you all know, I recently moved back to Birmingham, and as I'm still unable to work, I was transferred over to Universal Credit. Now, this is the big benefit that everybody's panicking about and is unsure about, if it's worth it and if it's going to work for people. So as part of this process, because I'm classed as having a disability or a health condition that keeps me from working, I have to go for a health assessment. Now, you normally go for these when you apply for PIP. You do have them with ESA as well, occasionally, but not all the time. Usually your doctor's evidence and that is enough. But with Universal Credit, you have to go for one. And if you don't attend, then they stop your benefits. So it's all very yuck, horrible and scary. Now, I must note, I've already put this off once because when I first applied for Universal Credit, they sent me an appointment for the assessment quite quickly. But my doctor's notes hadn't been received at my new surgery. So I asked if we could put it off for a few weeks so that there was chance for that to happen and then for my new GP to be able to sort of support me through the process, and if I managed to get any referrals in that time, then it would also be noted down as well. Now, unfortunately for me, 4 weeks later, my notes still haven't turned up at my new doctor's surgery, and they are in the process of chasing them up. But I cannot put off the health assessment any longer. So I have to go today. Now, I've been very stressed this week. My tremor has been off the charts because of the extra pressure and the extra stress. And I haven't been sleeping very well. And I just feel so nervous and terrified is what I put in my tweet yesterday. And that is genuinely how I feel, because if they don't like what they hear from me today, they can say, you're ready to go back to work, like tomorrow. No, it takes a few weeks for things to go through, but they would be pushing me back into the workforce pretty quickly. And while I want to go back to work, work has always been a positive thing for me, in the sense of the work that I do tends to be very rewarding. I usually work with charities, so it's usually very heart-filling to know that I'm doing something with a purpose. But unfortunately, I know I'm not ready to go back to work, is the only way to put it. My pain levels still aren't under control. I still don't have answers for my low-pressure headaches. My balance is awful. My joints are a mess. I'm literally falling apart at the seams. But I know there are people worse off than me, and I know I just have to keep fighting and keep going and keep trying to get better. But I'm kind of at a process now, because of waiting for doctors and appointments and things like that to happen, that I'm kind of like... I'm just kind of like on the travelator, just, on the escalator, just waiting for time to go by till these things actually start happening and I start getting some answers. And hopefully I start getting some help for some of my symptoms and some of, my other health issues. A brain tumour is not the only thing that I have to deal with. So this appointment to come at this time is really truly difficult, because nearly half the medical evidence that I have is nearly 9 to 10 months old. So I'm taking it with me still, in the hope that they will look at it at least. These people are still qualified surgeons and doctors. They know what they're talking about. So hopefully that will be enough to show them that I'm not ready. But it's all about this interim time period and moving house and that sort of thing. They're going to argue that, if you can do that and, it's been this amount of time, then you should be better by now. And those of you fighting brain tumours, those of you in recovery at the moment, you all know that is not the way that things work. Things really don't go that simply. And with all the complications that I had after surgery, things have definitely not been easy for me. And unfortunately, sort of 2 years on, I'm still trying to find out why I get the headaches and the nerve pain, and yeah, it's just a bit of a minefield. And I'm waiting and hoping that the doctors here can help me sort it all out. But until then, I have to go and convince an advisor who was supposed to be at least nurses or medically trained, from what I understand, about all my health conditions without doing anything to cause myself pain. So I can't bend over. Moving my thumb joints at the moment is a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, I just don't see how this is going to go. I mean, I can't show them the pain in my head, you know. And, to say I'm worried is an understatement. I'm just really, really scared. You know, this is my life. And I've had my PIP assessment, and they were really great in some respects. They came to the house. They didn't argue that I was still having difficulty sort of travelling to places. As it is today, I'm getting a taxi. And the other extra bit of stress that I've got is my person who was going with me, without wanting to make them feel bad. Unfortunately, it's not their fault. They really can't help this, but their child is not very well this morning and is throwing up everywhere, so they can't come with me. So I have to go alone, which does not help matters at all. But I can't cancel again. If I cancel again, then they will not necessarily stop all my benefit, but there's this thing called sanctions where they can stop a certain amount of your benefit as punishment for you not going to appointments or doing anything. And I can't risk that happening at this stage of my move. I'm still trying to get settled. Things are still costing a little more. My bills have definitely gone up because I'm in a slightly larger property. And it's just everything mixed together is just a really, really big, mess is how I feel right now. Anyway, so it's nearly time for me to call my cab and get there, because you need to get there at least 10 minutes early. So the aim of this video was to just really sort of show the kind of pressure and the stress that it puts on people as they're going through these things. So the second half of this video will be about how I got on and how I feel now the process is over. So I look forward to seeing you all in part 2. Take care, warriors, and I will talk to you shortly. Bye for now. Hi everyone, welcome to part 2. So I have changed the scenery because I needed to really take some time. Although part of me thought about recording as soon as I got home, I was just too on edge and I couldn't focus, and I think because of how long I'd been in there, my brain was literally just completely frazzled. So I took a few hours to sort of chill out and refocus and decide what I needed to say in the video a little bit. So yes, there is a change of location because it's dark here and the lighting in my living room is absolutely appalling, which you probably noticed in part 1 anyway. So I'm in my kitchen now because the lighting's a little better. But enough stalling. So I was in the assessment office, little room, whatever you want to call it, for nearly 2 hours. Now, I mean, I can't complain about that. She was very thorough. She said she was a GP, that she'd done a rotation in neurosurgery, so she knew a little bit about some of the things that I was going to talk about. which was nice. Because it wasn't really about the procedures and everything I'd been through. They were kind of a side note to just sort of talk about how things affect me on a day-to-day basis now. So how I'm affected with pain and with activities and with hobbies and all of that sort of thing. So, as I said, with 2 hours, she was very thorough. We talked about each of my conditions, we talked about how they affected me, we talked about aids and adaptations that I had in the home. I'm pretty sure we talked about medication. As I said, please excuse me, I am so frazzled still from the whole thing that, I don't think I've really recovered properly yet. And I think it's going to be a few days before I am. But I felt it was really important to finish part 2 today while everything is still fresh in my head, or as fresh as things can get in my head right now. So she was very kind, she was very nice. She didn't force me to do anything. She didn't force me to talk about things I didn't want to. She didn't force me to do exercises I didn't feel comfortable with. You know, she was very nice, very friendly. And I appreciate not everybody gets that. And I mean, I know that not everyone gets a GP when they're going for these assessments. You know, maybe I got lucky because of the conditions that I have and the fact that I live in a big city. So, you know, perhaps more GPs are under hire for this. Or maybe they had previous problems and that's why they now hire GPs. Who knows? All I know is that I felt quite lucky that I was talking to someone who at least had a medical background. So, as I said, I was in there for 2 hours and only really the last 4 or 5 minutes were a physical exam sort of thing, you know, testing my reflexes. And even though we talked about everything individually, things still got left out. I mean, that's not necessarily her fault. That's what happens, I think, when you've not got someone with you to jog your memory. But I didn't talk about myophasia. I didn't talk about how tired I get with things. It's amazing how much I got to talk about, but also about the stuff that I still know I missed out, which I didn't realise until I'd left. And it's too late by that point. All I can do is hope that the information that I've given her and the things that I've described are enough for her to make the right decision, which is that, you know, I hope she agrees with my doctors that I'm not ready to go back to work yet, because I do feel it would be detrimental to my mental health as well as my physical health if I was to try to get back into work now. But that's what this is all about. That's what this process is about. So the best advice I can give anyone really after going through this is, please make sure if you can take someone with you, you do so. And to try and take someone who knows and sees the issues that you have around your conditions. Also take any medical evidence, and not just to show her, but to remind yourself about some of the issues you did. Talking about my medication and that, I was very glad that I had got my prescription tabs with me to remind me of the exact dosages that I'm on, and even talking about some of the other medication that I don't take all the time that wasn't on every prescription. So it's amazing everything you have to talk about in such a short period of time. And even though 2 hours sounds like, oh my God, you were in there forever, when I was in there, it really didn't feel like it. I mean, she was very kind. She turned the light off because it was bothering me. It was one of those big fluorescent tubes. Yeah, big nightmare for people like you and me that have had brain tumours, especially ones near the optic nerve. She could see the facial droop that I have. She was very good. She was very thorough. which is great. But again, you're not always going to get someone like that, which is why I say if you can take someone with you that knows what you go through on a daily basis, please do that. Because I think that's the biggest help, the biggest piece of advice I could give you surrounding all of this. I'm glad it's over with, at least that part of it, but I now know I have 6 to 8 weeks, possibly longer, to wait for the results, and to wait for their decision, because obviously she writes a report now, that goes to back to the DWP, decision makers, and only then with all the information will they decide what they're going to do, and then let me know. I'm frazzled, as you can tell, and to put people through this, I understand the necessity of it, because there are people that want to hoodwink the system. I get that. But there are people out there, brain tumour warriors out there, that struggle like I do with the after effects of having several craniotomies, one after the other, or those of us that have been left with deficits, or have had to relearn to do things again because we forgot when we were in surgery having our heads cut open. This is not an easy process for anyone. So please, just having someone there to support you emotionally, I think is helpful on its own. But yeah, as I said, if you can take someone that knows what you go through on a daily basis, really the best advice I can give you is that. So, I really, really hope this has helped, whether it's helped ease your nerves a bit because you're a little worried about what it's going to be like and what you're going to go through, and I'm more than happy to answer questions if anyone has any. But you know, this is what we have to go through. This is part and parcel of trying to recover, you know, and good luck to anyone out there that is in this process at the moment, because it really is quite difficult. So take care of yourselves, everyone, and thank you for listening to my rambles, and I hope it helps in some small way to know that you're not alone and that we all go through this. So take care. Look after yourselves, warriors. Remember, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. You really are. Take care. Bye for now.